Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, so welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Colin Smith Brooks. And I think this episode should is a very good episode, and I'll just to show you how I got into podcasting. You know, because I'm from Jamaica, and podcasting is not a popular thing and stuff like that. So I guess it's a very interesting episode. Would be a very interesting episode for you to understand how I got into something so fringe in you know in my country. So for the story to start, I have to go way back to 2018. When I graduated university. So when I finished university with a 2.98 GPA. Yeah. And that number is very important as it was the reason why I didn't pursue my master's. Well, one of two reasons. Why I think the first reason was because I could not understand what a master's was. I didn't know this always, when people talk about it, they always say, oh, it's different than undergraduate. You're doing your own research and stuff like that. And you had to make up your own research. And I could never really understand, really know what I would research about and stuff like that. Because the way they explained it was that when you're doing a master's, you're basically doing a research that nobody isn't doing, or a master's or PhD, you're doing a research that nobody does haven't done in ever, and publish it and stuff like that. So I could never really understand, have an idea of what I would research and stuff like that. And I kind of went close, in my last year, there was a teacher, a pretty good looking teacher, lecturer, I should say, that was lecturing about DNA, and that was the closest thing that I had to an idea of what I wanted to do my masters. I wanted to research DNA with her, that was but other from that, I never really had any idea. And then because I had a 2.9 GPA now, if I was to apply to go back to UWI to do a master's, I would have to pay to do the master's. If I had over 3.0 GPA, I would have done it. Done a master of philosophy, which is a subsidized version of the master's program and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I didn't get to do masters at university. Yeah. So with that being said, now so I finished university, and as I said, for science is not really a easy way to get a job in Jamaica. So I was struggling and struggling to get a job until I decided that okay, it makes sense that I start to learn programming to get a job in programming, because that was my second best area, and that was what I was trying to do my minor in, which I didn't get the minor because I failed a couple courses in the third year. So I was learning some of that, and then I went to then my cousin found out I was studying. I said, "Oh, okay, I'm a programmer. Makes sense to learn from me." And he was teaching me some stuff, and then boom, he got a call from somebody to work at me to do a 2 week summer program at this primary school, and I went there and do it, and where I just basically make some mechanical toys with some kids. I got paid $24,000 for the 2 weeks, and it was pretty good. And, after that, no, then did some more learning, and then I got a job recommended by my cousin again at a startup where I do web development and a little. mobile development, for basically around 2 months or so. But funny enough, so it was around this time now, around this time when I got the thing for my cousin, I kind of stopped went there because my cousin did kind of they do more work, a lot of more work did on his hands, so he never had time to really teach me and stuff like that. So I usually just learn by myself and thing. And during those time, I usually learn by myself. I got some ideas of some things that I like want to do, some apps and some stuff I would like to make. And around those time, I was watching some a lot of like those motivational videos on YouTube. So I usually watch YouTube persons like Evan Carmichael, or something like that, where he do top 10, like he do a top 10 rules for success, where basically, it's more successful people in the world. He basically put a top 10 list of their top 10 tips they have for people and just join it and post it. I usually watch those every day of different people, a lot of different people. You have like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, all those people. I was watching them every day, and then I usually watch this other YouTube called Alux. Alux is where the is like a person. It's like a YouTube channel where they talk about what successful and rich people do. What they spend their money on and how they spend their money on. Those I was watching a lot of those things, and I usually watch a lot of interviews, and then I got those how I actually so if, how I actually got into the Tesla was me watching a lot of Elon Musk videos, and then I end up watching a lot of Tesla videos, where actually you basically think I work there the way I'm I watch every video on Tesla and thing and I end up even watching every video on SpaceX, which is the other company that he run. I basically didn't know everything about Elon Musk, everything that he was doing, And I know but even watching it and stuff like that, and think I never really, I could have purchased a Tesla. In Jamaica it would be around 10 million or more or stuff like that. So all these things I was watching and stuff like that. Even though I was watching and getting the information, I could not, even if I was working, I wasn't getting paid enough to even have a chance. And then I told him that I didn't even know how to buy a stock, American stock in Jamaica, because way before Tesla stock was really good and stuff like that, I knew that Tesla stock was going to blow. Those times Tesla stock was about $300 or something like that, way before it blew up. And I was watching videos and people telling me that, yeah, this Tesla thing is going to blow up, and everybody. And I watched the video and I said, yeah, yeah, Tesla's going to blow up. And everybody usually that around me those time know that all the car I talk about was Tesla. So watching all of that, and then I got the job at the startup, and then the startup job, I never feel fulfilled doing the job. I could do the job, but what happened was when I went there at the start, it was a startup. So basically I was doing majority of the. I came in and then started doing a lot of the development. You know, there was a developer before me, but when I came in, he started to do a lot of other meetings and stuff like that, and basically giving me the task to do and to develop the website and thing. And I was doing it and stuff, but I wasn't feel fulfilled, because a lot of us do just come in from 9 to 5 and then do it and then stuff like that. And then there are a good amount of different people usually come in. Like I met the client, and the client, I show the client the page, and I say, "Oh, you built this page?" And I say, "Yeah." And I say, "Yeah, you're doing good," and stuff like that. I was doing well, but I never was feeling fulfilled in doing it. And then that first month, I actually get like 64,000 as my pay, and that felt that felt nice. $64,000, you know, felt nice. Mhm. And But the next month now, they were looking to because they were modeling their business, their business growth or plan based on like a Google type. They want to be like a Google or something like that, where how Google where they want us to build ideas and develop them ourselves. And if it works, success, we get a portion. We the person who develop get a portion of success, but the business also get a portion of the majority of the success because it was there in the business it was developed. And I never really bought into that idea because it was basically me working for less. I had so I if I mentioned before, I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to do, and it never makes sense for me building out the idea for them and then getting only a portion of it, and stuff like that. So it never made no sense. So boom, the second month now we go in and then the client never have any money to pay them for the next time, and then they lay me off. So boom, I got laid off, and after that, now my plan was to actually start looking into the ideas that and actually try to build the ideas that I wanted to do. And um, so I never really was looking for any job or stuff like that. So I was just watching the YouTube A-Lux and Evan Mike Carmichael in the morning and stuff, and then I try to get the motivation to try build the things that I wanted, the websites and stuff. But it never really was working out. I had the vision and stuff like that, but I couldn't get it. And one thing I learned about business and stuff like that, um, people buy things that looks good, not functionality. They don't buy based on functionality. They buy things that looks good and stuff like that. That's why Instagram and people like Instagram because it's a lot of it's a picture of or stuff like that and things like that. So that was one of my weakness. I could really build things that look good. I could do the functionality, but I was weak in making the things look good. So doing that now, I'm kind of feel depressed. Watching YouTube and then boom, I end up on this thing called MGTOW, which was basically men going their own way. You try to watch this thing, this person called um Coach Greg Adams. It was him where I got the 90 days to change my life. Um, 90 days to change my life concept from. I was watching them and around that time now, and there was a girl that I liked that was doing her master's. So I was back home at my hometown, and she was basically at UWI doing her master's. And stuff. So I just see her on Instagram and stuff like that. But then I was broke. I wasn't near her. I was done at UWI or something like that. So I could just look for her and stuff like that. Even when I was at Preston, I was kind of shy to even look and go and look for her and stuff like that. So it wasn't match made going right and stuff. But she was my motivation to say, yo, boom, get my mind and money right so that I can, maybe take her out on a date and stuff like that. But while I was thinking about take her on a date and stuff like that, I was listening to this big talk thing and you know, learning the realities and say, yo, the man's like, yo, don't try to look woman and stuff like that. Invest in yourself, get a mind and money right for yourself, live the free agent lifestyle. And free agent lifestyle is basically, yo, is like free agent in basketball is like a person who every because they're a free agent and if you're a good player that is a free agent in NBA, every NBA team is giving you their best offer because everybody wants you and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're a player that is in a 5 year contract, you're basically locked in to that team and you can't really do nothing but just do what they say and do what they say. But if you're a free agent, not locked down by anything, every person that you deal with is giving you your best game and stuff like that. So that kind of that was the thing that brought me into the red pill and MGTOW thing, and I end up start watching his listening to his podcast, which at the time was Bounce Back the podcast, Bounce Back the podcast, which is now renamed to the 300 Answer. Every day I usually listening and listening and the Bounce Back the pod when it was named the Bounce Back the podcast, he was talking about how he was homeless and how he's going up and um go from homeless, from broken homeless to where he is now. You know, that was the essence of Broke Back Bounce Back the podcast, and it was said about how he bounced back from those bad times. He was divorced and living in his car and stuff like that. I know he has his apartment, has a car and stuff like that. And I use that as motivation now. And he was telling me that hey, telling us like, hey, if you have a goal or stuff like that, write it down, remove distraction, and then try to work towards it every day. So before the podcast, one of the things that I was wanted to do was make a YouTube channel, because plan was if it works out, I could get make money and stuff like that. But for one, I couldn't really get an idea of what I wanted to make as the YouTube episodes, and then not only that, the tablet I have it never really a good camera, so I couldn't really see my the camera quality was low, and I could not find a proper lighting in my house. So I just end up continue to listen the Evan Carmichael 10 Rules for Success episode A Lux every Sunday, and then the Bunks Back the podcast every day and stuff like that, and trying to build the website and stuff until I eventually got the idea to say, okay, let me just try and make a podcast myself. And this was after Kobe Bryant died, and it was basically after Kobe Bryant died, and I kind of um, sobbing and mourning and thing. I kind of get the name reframe. The first thing I say is okay, it's time to reframe my mindset, and that's why I got the name Reframing Mindset Podcast. So the podcast originally was me, was basically accountability podcast of me talking about the things that I'm doing to actually reframe my mindset and actually get myself out of the rut that I was in. And but back then, as I said, I live in Jamaica. And, when you've gone through science and stuff like that, and being a nerd and all and stuff like that, you get insecure and you start your own thing, a new thing. Because you know that when people hear it, like for the podcast, when people hear it, it might sound embarrassing and stuff like that, especially in Jamaica and stuff like that. So when I just listen it, play it and stuff like that, usually not good to myself and thing, but after some time when I recorded the depression part one and depression part two episode, that was during the time when I was trying to do like the dopamine detox and I was working out a lot and stuff like that. And when I did the dopamine detox and that time I was removing Instagram as my distraction and woman and stuff like that. And what happens in when you remove all those distraction and focus, you are bombarded with all this time and energy. And I was putting all that energy into working out, but I wasn't eating right. So after the depression episode of the podcast, the depression part one, part two, I start feel weak. I got anemia and then paranoia also because during that time was the onset of COVID, Corona. So I went to the doctor and they say, yo, you're pale, you barely have no blood, so they give me an iron tablet and recovering. While I was recovering, I got this paranoia, because I was seeing those times when I recorded all the episodes. For one, it went to Spotify and all the podcasts playing Spotify, Apple, and all these things. And then it was getting a good amount of plays, but I was thinking, people are listening to this and stuff like that. So I got paranoid. I said, who knows, and who knows this, because I was speaking something. And because of the anemia recovering, I got paranoid, and then with the corona thing, I was double paranoid. So I ended up deleting every one of the episodes and was like afraid to basically leave my house, because back then during those time, I usually leave my house only to like buy groceries, water and stuff like that. And I usually just walk with the water from out of my hometown square or walk back home without taking a taxi and stuff like that. One of the time when I walked home, as I know I mentioned before, when I think one of the person remembered me from my primary school, But and when I left my primary school, I kind of wanted to leave that past behind. But he meeting him back in my hometown, and then he knowing one of my friend that was my friend when my mother was working out in my hometown square. You know, it kind of does add to the paranoia, and I got adrenaline because he that person that I was friend with when my mother was working up my own town know exactly where I live, and having him and then the person that I went to primary school with being my friend, two of them being friends, two of them know exactly where I live. So it was a weird thing, and then I got paranoid. I was looking at how the plan. So the plan was either to go to Kingston or maybe go to US or Canada or something like that. But everything was messing up. No, nothing was working out. Nothing at all was working out. So basically, my plan was basically just stay in the house and just ride it out. And I made the depression episode and stuff like that. I never made episode until way, way down until maybe November in 2020 or stuff like that. I started making episodes again, because I was recovering and I felt better in myself. I started making it in October, October. I kind of start felt better in myself and start talking about things, simple things, simple, not really personal stuff, but more simple things that was around me at the time. Basically, I get back into the mojo and it was working out back for me again. And I ended up get back the passion to actually start making podcast episodes again, you know, until I'm here now. And I ended up re-uploading the episodes that I deleted, which I was kind of embarrassed by and stuff like that. So that's that's it, That's it. Where the podcasting is still kind of a niche career in Jamaica, just like my biochemistry degree and stuff like that. It's a niche career, but more now I'm more comfortable, more comfortable in actually doing it and stuff like that. Because more people are actually listening to podcasts and stuff like that. It's still maybe not widely accepted, but I'm more confident. I'm more calm in because for one, it's actually paying me. Right now I'm waiting for my second payout. So from it's paying me, I can't really just complain because it's putting money on the table. So people can have to respect that. But it's a good way for me as a podcaster for me to clear my head and talk about things that was on my mind and things that I wanted to clear off my head and plus give you information that can help you on your journey. So it's basically a win-win-win for me and stuff like that. So that's basically it on my how I got into podcasting. And yeah, so look forward for the next episode and thanks for listening.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Yes, and welcome back to the Free Mindset Podcast. My name is Colin Smith Brooks. I know uh this episode is going to be talking about some books that I've read and I recommend to you. If you have listened to the podcast and you have heard my success or whatever, you, these books may not be the direct cause of those success, but after reading those books, I see the value of other people reading it. So I'm just going to recommend it now. So you that is on your journey to success can read it and have an idea of how you want to talk because yeah, a good business book and hustling book and stuff like that. Mhm. So the first one is The Goal Giver, which is